the main reason I think that the subject is not open to serious debate among politicians and many other people is that we have prohibited some drug or another for 80 years. And we have demonized some drug or in some cases, several drugs for that entire period. Drugs are a very convenient scapegoat. They are also a convenient surrogate for racism. But beyond that, more recently, we have, just going back to Nixon's period as president, he declared, we were losing the Vietnam War, and he fortuitously, so I suppose, decided to declare all-out global war on the drug menace, and he was going to eliminate it. And cranked up, created the Drug Enforcement Administration, started creating this huge bureaucracy. Since that time, we have spent at least $200 billion in taxpayers' dollars. We have caused the murders of hundreds of thousands of Americans, many of them totally innocent. We have racked up, we have tripled virtually the property crime rates. We've doubled the violent crime rates in this country since Nixon declared war.
I just need to stop you to clarify. When you say we have caused the murders of hundreds of thousands of innocent Americans, could you explain that?
The more intensely you enforce a drug prohibition law, the fiercer the participants are that are engaging in the black market. You've cranked up the risks to them from participating in the war. So you've increased the profits. And therefore you get turf battles, and you get people who are facing life imprisonment if they get caught tend to want to kill people that they think are ratting them out or informing on them. So and victims get killed because they get robbed by putative drug dealers or real drug dealers, or other people rob the drug dealers of their money or their drugs. Everybody in this business uses guns, they use violence. So that it's quite clear that we are killing today, that is, the drug business, directly or indirectly, is murdering at least 5,000 Americans a year.
Now, I can accept that. Here we are in the San Francisco area, and probably in this metropolitan region, 2 or 3 people a day are being murdered because of this. But you know, the irony is, most of the time when the media presents this, it's considered a drug problem.
Yes.
It's not considered a problem created by the prohibition of drugs.
Right. Well, going back to the question of why the issue of legalization is almost unthinkable or not a polite subject of discussion. We have in the past 20 years, that is, our governments have brainwashed us and continue to brainwash us into believing that all of these horrible problems associated with drug black marketing are caused by drugs. They don't even acknowledge that it is the prohibition of the drugs that is a necessary causal element in the crime. For example, I remember Lee Brown, the drug czar, giving a speech not too long ago in which he said drugs account for terrible numbers of murders and robberies and thefts and create fear in America. And he went on and on about the horrible problems of America that he attributed to drugs. And if the word prohibition had been inserted at the beginning of his speech, I would have to agree with him. But the idea that, I mean, these people talk about drive-by shootings and turf battles, and they still don't think that has anything to do with drug prohibition. But there couldn't be a turf battle without drug prohibition.
Well, now, there are many questions that this raises. I want to stop for just a second, because you said that the government is brainwashing us, and many viewers might think that you're some sort of a radical. But you happen to be a professor of law at Yale University, and as I understand it, you didn't always think this way.
What, that the government was brainwashing us, or that drug prohibition was a disaster?
Well, I don't know how you felt about the government brainwashing us, but I know that you weren't always opposed to the prohibition against drugs.
No, I was, I think, always opposed to the intense drug war and what it was doing to the criminal process and some of the incidental crime that is producing, and the way it caused the courts to permit de facto repeal of the Bill of Rights. Those things I was opposed to, but I did at least assume that some benefit was achieved by drug prohibition.
Most people do.
Yes. And when I finally had my epiphany, I was looking into the health aspects of drug prohibition, and when I discovered that most of the damage to the health of users of drugs was indirectly, at least, caused by drug prohibition, and that the drugs themselves in a regulated market were relatively harmless, not totally, and that even the addiction rates would be lower under a regulated system because, for the reasons that I mentioned earlier, it became clear to me that there is no benefit to anyone other than drug dealers, drug warriors, and politicians that have made a career out of cranking up the drug war. No one else. And morticians in inner cities, people that have kind of peripheral, foreign car dealers in inner cities, people that have some kind of peripheral benefits. Everyone else in America suffers, including drug users.